G'day everyone and welcome back to another video here on the channel, and that is right, round 3 for AFL tipping is officially here, and today I'm going to be going through my tips and predictions for this round of football. I hope you guys do go on to enjoy this video, and if you guys do, could you please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new. I know I'm getting the tips out a little bit later than I usually do, but nonetheless, we're just going to get straight into this video. Now, as I've done in the last few tipping videos, I'm going to quickly let you guys know that I do have a tipping comp for the 2025 season. We currently have 62 members in there, so let's try and aim for 65 by the end of the week. There are cash prizes involved, so third place gets $15, second place gets $30, and first place gets $100. Currently in third place is AFL Talks with 14 points. Second is Blues Premiers 2025 with 15 points, and first place 2 weeks in a row is Gus Footy with 16 points. But I myself had a pretty shocking round of tipping last week after scoring a 4 out of 8. So now let me tell you guys the tips that I got incorrect for round 2. The first one was Essendon v Adelaide. That one was a bit of a harder tip to get. I felt like both teams were sort of similar in skill level, even though the Crows did previously smash the St Kilda Saints by, I believe, 70 points, maybe it was 60. But simply because it was Essendon's home game, that's the only reason I decided to go for them. I'm pretty sure in the end, Essendon scored 100 points and still lost by 60. Next one was St Kilda v Geelong. Good job to the Saints, if I'm being honest. I had no hope for them going into this game. They seem to be the Cats' kryptonite at most times. Next was North v Melbourne. It seems like there was a few upsets that happened during this season. Next one was North v Melbourne. Seems like there was a few upsets going into this round of football. To be fair, the odds were quite close, but I had completely ruled North Melbourne out of that game. In the end, North Melbourne won by over 50 points. And the next one was Freo v Swans. I tipped the Dockers. I did tip the Dockers. I thought they would actually get up in that game. The Swans obviously got their first win of the season, so good on them. But it was a very close game, and I'd argue if there was maybe 2 more seconds left on the clock, Freo may have been able to get a shot after the sign to potentially win the game. But enough talking, let's get into the reason you guys clicked on this video, being the tips for round 3. First game of the round on the Thursday, we've got the Bombers taking on the Port Adelaide Power at 7:30 at Marvel Stadium. This is quite an interesting game as both teams are quite similar in skill level currently. In round 1, the Bombers were defeated by 26 points. In round 1, the Essendon Bombers were defeated by the Hawks by a 26-point margin. Round 1, Port Adelaide took on the Pies and lost by 91 points. While in round 2, Essendon were thrashed by 61 points. Port Adelaide got the win against Richmond by 72 points. So very similar performances by both teams, but due to that, Port Adelaide are currently in 11th and Essendon are in 16th. Although it is Essendon's home game, after what we saw last week, the home ground advantage seems to mean very little to the Essendon Bombers. Port Adelaide are actually favourites going into this game, and while if Connor Rosie, Mitch Georgiades and Jace Burgoyne are playing to their best, and how they have been the last few weeks, I would actually be quite shocked if Essendon got the job done. But I'll still tip it to be a relatively close game, and I'll go Port Adelaide by 16 points. On the Friday at Marvel Stadium as well, we've got the Carlton Blues taking on the Western Bulldogs at 7:40 p.m. I think this game genuinely has potential to be game of the round. Both teams have started the season pretty averagely, and neither of them have been able to prove themselves just yet this season. Carlton are currently 0-2, while the Bulldogs are 1-1. Dogs fans were left heartbroken last week after losing by 6 points against the Collingwood Magpies, and no one's really got much hope for the Blues going into this game, as they did lose to Richmond round 1. Although Harry Mackay will return this week after being out last week due to illness, and Charlie Curnow returned against the Hawks last week, and let's say we've definitely seen him play better games before. Dogs still have some huge outs, being Liam Jones, Adam Treloar, the Bont, as well as Cody Waitman. Both sides usually play their best footy at Marvel Stadium, but I just don't see a world where the Blues start the season 0-3, so I'll tip them to get the job done by 5 points. Start of the Saturday at the MCG, we've got the Melbourne Demons taking on the Gold Coast Suns at 1:20 p.m. Another game that's sort of hard to tip. The Gold Coast Suns have only played 1 game this season, and they won that by 87 points. And the D's looked alright in round 1 after only losing to the Giants by 3 points, but last week they lost to North Melbourne by 59 points, so I really just don't know how this team's going to go. I still think it's too early to determine how Melbourne will go this season, but something's definitely going to have to change very soon in the way that they play their football. Clayton Oliver and Jack Viney have been dominating the Melbourne Demons midfield, and Christian Petrarca is slowly getting his name back up there. Ben King kicked 6 goals in the game against West Coast. Noah Anderson racked up 36 disposals in that game as well as Clayton Oliver last week, meaning that it kind of seems like both teams will be cancelling each other out in the midfield. You'd argue Jared Witts will be the best ruck on ground, even though Melbourne do have Max Gawn after racking up 68 hitouts in round 1. I just think the Suns have that forward line that it's just going to be pretty hard to beat, especially when you have players like Ben King up there to take good easy marks, especially that really good mark against the Eagles. And I think the Suns will get up this week by 2 goals. Next game at Marvel Stadium, we've got the St Kilda Saints taking on the Richmond Tigers at 4:15 p.m. Look, if you're second guessing yourself on this tip, you're just silly. After reviewing the fixture, this game or the upcoming Sunday game are the easiest games to tip. Although the Saints played pretty shocking football to start off the year, in round 2 they were able to pull off an upset against the Geelong Cats. And sure, Richmond pulled off that upset against Carlton, but that doesn't really mean anything. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the only win they get this year. I mean, we saw last year they bet the Sydney Swans early in the year and then pretty much did not win a game for the rest. And I'll tip the Saints to win the game by 47 points. Next game, we're flying all the way to Tassie, Hawthorn versus GWS at UTAS Stadium. That will be at 7:35 p.m. What a round of football we have in our hands. The Hawks have started the season by winning their first 3 games, and none of them were actually considered guaranteed wins. They had the Swans opening round, Essendon round 1. In round 2, they had the Carlton Blues, which they should have won, but it was no guarantee they would, but obviously they did, so that doesn't matter anyway. And the Giants have done well prior to their bye in round 2 after thrashing the Collingwood Magpies in opening rounds, and round 1 pulling off a 3-point win against the Melbourne Demons in a thriller. The Hawks have won their last 6 game at University of Tasmania. It's still yet to be confirmed when Jesse Hogan will return to the Giants side, but I wouldn't imagine it'd be this week. I would say they'd probably save him until they verse the Eagles in round 4. That's only if he's ready to return. But I think based on recent form, I'm going to tip the Hawks to start the season 4-0 and they'll win that game by 21 points. Alright, now we go on to the Gabba. Brisbane versus Geelong at 7:35 p.m. Final game of the Saturday it is. This is the rescheduled game that was supposed to happen back in opening round, but obviously was cancelled due to Cyclone Alfred. Lachie Neale started the season really well, and it's looking like he may be on to get his 3rd Brownlow in his career. Both the Ashcroft brothers have been dominating the last 2 weeks. Logan Morris, Eric Hipwood and Callum Archie have been really strong up in that Brisbane Lions forward line, and probably the main reason that the Lions were able to come back against the Eagles and win the game. Now the Cats, the kitties. They were able to defeat the Fremantle Dockers in round 1 by 78 points. That is absolutely insane. But last week they struggled against St Kilda, losing the game by 7 points. But it feels like the Saints are always the Cats' kryptonite, and they always struggle to win against the Saints. Ted Closey took part in his 4th career game last week, and he was an absolute gun for the Geelong Cats, but I wouldn't imagine he'd get any more game time once Bailey Smith returns. But his performance will not go unnoticed after kicking 2 goals and racked up 16 disposals. But I think I'm going to back in my original tip that I tipped in opening round for this game, and I'll go the Brisbane Lions. And you know what, let's go the same margin, 7 points. To kick off the Sunday at Adelaide Oval, we've got the Adelaide Crows taking on the North Melbourne Kangaroos at 3:20 p.m. One of the easier tips of the round, that's for sure. I understand that North Melbourne did find a bit of form last week against Melbourne after pulling off a really good win, but I think it's going to be similar to Richmond in the sense that, yeah, they might pull off a few upsets here and there, but they're not going to do anything crazy, and they're not going to be pulling off upsets every single week. In 2 weeks in a row, the Adelaide Crows have been able to win by 60 plus points. And for that reason, I'm going to tip the Crows to win yet again and start the season 3-0. Let's go another 60-point thrashing. Let's go 67 points. I'll get it done. And to conclude this round of football, we have got the Derby. West Coast taking on Fremantle at Optus Stadium at 6:10 p.m. on the Sunday. Despite the skill gap between these two teams, it's always a really good contest in the Derby. Although to be fair, West Coast are currently 18th and Fremantle are currently 17th. So to someone who has not watched much of the AFL, you'd probably think that they're pretty similar in skill level anyway, but obviously that is not the case. The Dockers will be without Michael Walters for a few more weeks, as well as Hayden Young and Sam Switowski, or Swigskaus. I don't know. Jake Waterman, I believe, is a confirmed out for the Eagles, as well as Jack Hutchison, who actually played alright against the Suns. Shai Bolton had a pretty poor club debut, certainly did not live up to everything that he was hyped up for, although he is coming fresh off an injury, so maybe just give him a few more games to get back into the swing of things. Murphy Reid is an absolute great young gun, and the question is, who's going to be the better Reid on the ground this Sunday night? Harley Reid or Murphy Reid. Fremantle almost bet the Swans last week, and I reckon if there was maybe a couple more seconds on the clock, Jai Amos would have marked the ball and had a shot after the siren to win the game for Fremantle. But obviously the siren shouted and Fremantle lost the game, and there was no guarantee he would have kicked it anyway. I would still be shocked if Fremantle lost, and I think I'll back them in to get a 13-point win. And just like that, this video has come to an end. And if you guys did enjoy, could you please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new, and I hope to see you all in the next video that I post here on the channel.